Bonjour, hello, and welcome to this PR rendezvous number 130, where we talk about employee advocacy. As you know, for those who don't know me, I'm Nata. I love to talk about PR, and this is something that I've seen around. If you have integrated some employee advocacy strategy in your company, I'd love to hear from you, nata at natapr.com. So, what is employee advocacy? This is a trend that I've seen, and I've seen a great interview with a communication expert that was really interesting from a train company in France called the SNCF. And they were using that tactic quite a bit, employee advocacy. This means they were using their employees and probably gave them a little training. I doubt, I suspect they gave them a little training, and they were letting them talk about what's happening at the SNCF. And they had this train conductor, was about 30 years old, a young guy, very interesting. And sometimes we don't imagine young train conductor. It was one of them, and he was really skillful on social media. Was even like doing specific videos on YouTube, and he had quite a following. It was really interesting. So I was talking about what his job, what it is, and give him some very fun information. So voila. So that's a great example of employee advocacy that I love. And so you can imagine in your own company what would it mean. And I was also surprised to hear this communication expert from that company saying that we let them, do what they want, talk about anything they want. And of course, the journalist was asking, would you let them criticize the company? And the answer was as long as the critic is not defamatory, as long as it's not, something really that could really that's not true, or that's something so personal that it's a critic. They could critic, but in a certain way, as far as they weren't going too far in what they were saying against the company. So if there were defamatory critics, you wouldn't say that this is the worst company in the world. Of course, you can imagine that this wouldn't work. They would not allow them. But besides that, they were saying that they will letting their employee do and talk about the company the way they want it. So imagine this. So instead of working with outside influencers, you look into your company to see who could be a great ambassador. They weren't even paying them more. It was just something that these employees love to do. So of course, they weren't identified by the company and they knew about that. And that's the perfect example of employee advocacy. So curious to hear if you have done it, if you have implemented it in your company, nata at natapr.com, please reach out. This is a new service we are offering, so we can do that for you. We can identify who would be interesting, give them like a little training too as well. And could be fun also if you want them to know a little bit more about some of the tools they could use on social media, and then you would let them talk about their profession. And it's particularly interesting if you are recruiting employees that are in the Gen Z generation, who spend a lot of time on social media, because this tactic, this new trend, employee advocacy, really allows you to give a real sense of what it is to work for you. So it's my favorite word since probably 2 years now. The authenticity is key. I prefer to say instead of authenticity, because I think people just give this word authenticity all kinds of meanings. But being authentic is something that you've probably heard. So anyway, employee advocacy gives you this occasion to be more authentic, because you have someone else from inside, an insider, talking about you, one of your employee talking about you and their job and what they're doing. So I think it's a great tactic, instead of having always like outsiders, influencers who just don't know you, experiment one of your service and talk about that. But having people who talk about deeply from inside who you are can be very powerful. Allows you to reach new new people, new markets through other platforms, people you would probably not reach otherwise. And voila. So, employee advocacy, this is what we're talking about in this episode. And as always, if you want to know how we work, um, how PR is performed at NATA PR, I have this little program, PR 101, just to give you the basic. Because if you understand PR, you'll have really a strategic advantage over your competitors, I promise. So this is what I'm talking to you about, this employee advocacy, this train company using their employees. I saw that where? On the news. If you've heard me talk a few times, you know how I love when people combine PR and social media. This is a perfect example. So voila. So go click on the link, PR 101. It's 30 minutes, very short. And it's after that, I promise you could start your own PR campaign on your own. So fun. And more than anything, of course, I hope you'll be joining me next week for another PR Rendezvous, PR Rendezvous 131. À la semaine prochaine.